If you look at two people, one Steve Jobs, the other one Bill Gates. Steve Jobs was about life. Bill Gates was about bits and bytes. And what happens is that Steve Jobs was right, like I think 99.99999% of the time. And the only thing that I will ever remember Bill Gates saying was that, oh, you don't need anything more than 64 kilobytes for a computer. You know?
Now, somebody who's been a Silicon Valley exec, that's pretty powerful. Pronounce your last name for me, because it's like so different spelling to me as far as like enunciation.
It really depends who says it, but it's Isha.
Isha. Oh my goodness. Okay.
In Farsi, it translates into Isaac.
Right. Okay.
My wife and I, we always go back and forth on things. And she always says, how is this thing spelled? I'm like, you know what? It's spelled as you please, because, it's all phonetics. In the process of taking that Eshagh or Isaac and putting it in English, put it down as Eshagh. In Farsi, we don't have, SH don't make, it was S, So I just got used to people saying Isha. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm here.
That is pretty funny. So you are Persian.
I was born in Iran. I'm technically not Persian. I'm Iranian. There's different minorities in Iran, and I'm Assyrian. There were two Christian groups in Iran, Assyrians and Armenians, and we are Assyrians, which is a smaller group.
Okay, because from what I have studied in the past, Sargon was a great ruler in Assyria.
Yes.
So that's what I always think of when I think of you, and I think of the long braided beards.
Yep, that's me. Yeah, we were in British Museum in London with the kids, and there are like statues and big things that says, "Oh, from Sargon, the second or whatever," and they were like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "Yep, that is famous."
You are famous even in addition to that. I want to introduce you to this audience that's listening. I've known you now for over half a year and totally impressed with everything I know. And the one thing in a nutshell that overpowers me and knocks me out about you, Sargon, is like everywhere you've gone, you've grown teams and you've exceeded benchmarks. And like your titles have included global this, global that. I'm like, what in the world? Like, how does a person go from being 18 years old to like 10 years down the road, they're a global leader?
It has a lot to do with the opportunities that are given to you. Earlier on in my life, I figured that I was not the smartest kid on the block, but I had a talent of trying to extract the best out of them. I think that's what I was really good at. It wasn't about the title. It was always about the team accomplishing something. And it truly was. It wasn't me. I just facilitated. And I was thrown in a lot of different positions, sometimes just because things were like blowing up within some of these companies. And they either didn't have time or they didn't want to deal with it. They knew I was good with people, but they didn't know what I could potentially get out of those people. I, would go in and solve problems, whatever the problems were. And then, I was given titles and positions, but at the end of the day, my talent was in finding people. And along the line, I found some, not so talented people too, but put them on the right track. And sometimes you can't.
That is such a good way to begin our conversation, because what I have observed, so many people want the glory for themselves and they're not really interested. Not all the people, but so many people want to be out front and center that they're not really interested in the team. How are you able to keep your ego in check to create all that cooperation?
What I always tried to do was to make sure that 100% of the team, everybody knows what the vision is. And it's not rocket science. I mean, part of it comes from just being genuinely nice to people. The other part is also being tough with people, challenging people with respect so that you build that level of respect. But in the process, you are teaching them to take care of the things that I think about, but in a way that it will help them elevate themselves so that they
Right.
don't come to the meeting next time not prepared. I
Mm,
might embarrass them a little bit, but they will know why and
mm.
why they became a person that they are today. Why are they a better manager? Why are they better numbers person? Why are they a better salesperson?
That's really good. I like that, because so many people today, oftentimes, it seems like their objective is to like embarrass in a negative way instead of in a positive way.
I grew up in a time that we were not text messaging each other. We had to look each other in the eyes and talk to each other. It's
Hmm.
a lot easier to criticize somebody in a text or an email, but it's a lot harder to come up with a solution, or it's a lot harder to have a conversation with the person and say, hey, I got a different view and I think we can do this better. But instead, it's that text syndrome. Make it look like I'm smarter than everybody else by pointing out what the weak point of this presentation is. It's a lot easier to be critical of people, and it gives you a false sense of accomplishment or security. At the same time, you're just tearing down the person, you're tearing down the relationships versus building up. You need to build up people, you need to build up relationships because you don't know when you need other people. Some people can't imagine what it means for everybody to be successful versus, oh, I did this. Never say I, because especially when you work with a group of people, it's always at least one other person that helped you get there.
Wow. That's pretty weighty. I mean, the way you say it, and after how you've done it for decades is really powerful. So like we come to the modern day and we got this guy who's got a team mentality. He's been overseeing $1 million budgets, multi-million dollar budgets, teams that have grown into the hundreds. Now your company, zutBe, its goal is to build a brand that cares. Tell us about this transition because I want people to really know what you are doing now and why.
It's funny that you asked that, and I knew you were going to ask that. This is going to come out wrong, but I felt like I was not doing good. I felt like I was just helping people sell widgets. But then I kind of started thinking, what is good about doing this? Are they all meeting all the specifications? Are they all safe? So I took a step back. At the time, I was consulting for quite a few different international companies. I went to each one of them and I said, I am done. And they all looked at me. Almost every single meeting, they said, "Oh no, no, you can't do that." I said, "No, no, I am doing this. You were great, and I'm going to help you, get to a point that you're self sufficient. But I need to do something that is going to be my legacy." So what did I do? I got together with some of my friends, sat around the table in a coffee shop. We said, okay, let's start thinking about products. And a lot of different ideas came through. And then we finally thought about what was it that we were good at? It was definitely electronics. Let's build something that's going to be different than what's out there. It's easy to say, but it's not easy to do. And by different, what I mean is we wanted to build something that was safe. It was something that was durable. We all thought about kids and our kids and all these devices that they have, things that they plug into the wall, the things that they plug into their devices. We were having these conversations right around when there were phones that were blowing up and burning. Things were not good for some cell phone manufacturers. And we said, let's build something that's going to be safe. Let's take the worry out of the product for the consumers. The consumers can go online and buy whatever they want cheap. It doesn't mean that they're safe. So we said, let's build a company that's going to be good. Let's build a company that's going to build products that they're going to be durable. Let's build a company around products that are going to be ethical. Let's build products that they're going to be useful. And hence, we came up with the company name zutBe. And finally, let's do something a little bit more, which is nobody in the industry does. It's to give back to our community. And again, one thing that we all had in common was that we all had causes that we never really talked about. Some people cared about breast cancer, some people cared about kids, some people cared about education. And we said, okay, you know what? Let's take the profits, whatever the profits are, and we will donate portions of those. And along the line, maybe we will learn from our consumers what their causes are, or we'll find different causes and we'll add them to our group of causes.
This is great context because your company started in 2017, October. So when were these conversations going on, Sargon? What time frame are we talking about?
We really got together probably late 2015. The conversations that I had with my customers was slightly before that. When we initially got the first set of products, we tested them for almost a year and we worked with the factories for about a year. Unfortunately, at the time, which is still true, a lot of these industries that we wanted to be in, they had already migrated out of US. So the factories and everything else are in China. So we had to go find a subcontractor to build stuff for us. Packed my bags and I went to China. Spent quite a bit of time there going through different factories, interviewing a lot of people on the floor, meeting with the owners. We wanted to make sure that the work condition at the factory level was okay. Most of these people live somewhere else or they're born in some other town. They migrate to these cities and they live on campus at the factory in these dorms. We wanted to make sure that those living conditions were okay. The pay conditions were okay. If you are on the floor, everything is clean. Then we needed to make sure that factories can actually comply with the safety regulations. So we made sure that we work with factories either through UL Labs or SGS or ETL to get certifications for the products. So we worked very closely with these factories to make sure that our products are UL level certified to make sure that they're safe. So that if you plug them into the outlet and go to sleep, you feel comfortable about leaving it there and you don't have to worry about it. We wanted to do all that thinking for the consumer so they don't have to worry about it. We start working with this one factory that actually takes the strings of wires and builds the cables themselves, build the tips of the cables, and they put the MFI chip on there to make sure that they're part of that MFI certification. And the reason why some of these things are important is because the phone or the device that you have communicates with the cable communicates with the charger, and they all talk in harmony. The phone will say, I need 18 watts of power. It will give you 18 watts of power safely. And it says, hey, you know what? I'm charged halfway. I want to slow down a little bit. Give me 10 watts. And that's why when you're charging your phone, for example, it will charge really fast when it's really empty and then slows down and maybe it warms up a little bit. It's because of all these things, all these communications and how safe the whole process is. And same thing with the cables, for example, for Android devices. They have a chip on there that's e-marker chip and does the same thing as an MFI chip, which communicates with the phone, communicates with the charger, and they talk about how much wattage do I need to charge the device. So we did a lot of soul searching at these factories to make sure that the products are built to our specifications. And even if we are not on a factory floor, we needed to make sure that those specifications are met. So there was a lot of research that we did. And, ultimate goal will be to build these widgets in the US, and one day we will. But today, that's the path that we've taken.
That is so amazing to me. I mean, I know the listeners will be like, wow, all the infrastructure and effort and time that you put in at your own expense to get this done right. From my perspective, for example, like a person who uses electronics, there's been many times where I'm like driving and then I'm like, this cable is not charging. I would go into a gas station and get another cable. So what am I buying when I'm buying this knockoff?
As a consumer, I always do a lot of research before I buy. That's just my nature. In your case, you're like, oh my God, I better get something because I don't have something. Besides getting into dollars and cents, when you go to a gas station and buy a product, it might have a cable that looks like an Apple cable, and the other tip will plug into your wall charger, and you think everything is okay. The question is it really okay? There's a little bit more to this whole cable being safe. Even the tips, for example, where you plug into your phone, if you look closely at the cable that you bought at a gas station versus the cable that you buy from zutBe, you can see how different those tips are. The lines on the cable are not straight. And then the stuff that you don't see is the stuff that's inside the housing at the tips. And that's where the MFI chip will sit. And there's no way on earth that you can buy an MFI cable that cheap and expect it to be truly protecting the $1,000 phone that you bought.
I don't think we even think about it. I know I've laughed at myself sometimes because I have actually bought the cable and then a week later it's dead. I just said, oh, I shouldn't have bought that stupid cable. And then I'll buy another one. I won't attribute it to the cable itself. I'll just say, well, maybe I did something.
Gene, don't feel bad. I used to do the same thing. The cable not working is the least of your worries. What you should worry about is the phone says, I'm almost full. Give me 5 watts. The cable is not a genuine cable that has either the eMarker or MFI chip, and it can't translate that to the charger. And the charger keeps giving you 18 watts, but you really need 5 watts. And that's when your battery gets hot. That's why the batteries expand. That's why batteries catch on fire. And I'm not trying to scare you, but it's part of the reality that you should be worried about. Your phone catching on fire, and you just spent $1,200 or $800 or $500 on the phone, and not protecting it because you spent $6 on a cable versus spending $12 on a cable.
Being a guy in sales for a long time and respecting your sales skill, Sargon, sometimes people need to be scared. We as consumers won't do anything unless we see, or we won't make any changes unless we are scared. And like in preparation to talk with you, I just did Google search of cell phone fires and stuff. And I saw one lady in the UK gave her experience. Her son went to bed with the phone plugged to the wall, and she said it burned the house down. They lost everything. Thankfully, no one died. I saw another person in the United States, I think it was in the Northeast. Same thing happened to them. And no one talked about the inferior cable. It was all based on plug-in chargers that were the source of a fire. And I remember that period in 2016 when the Samsung Note phones were like blowing up. So, I mean, this is a life issue.
I've spent a lot of times on the production lines at these factories, and you cannot imagine what kind of intricate work that they're doing, putting some of this stuff together, especially with the cables. And not everything's done with the machine. If a product doesn't perform as well as it should, we are there to support our customers. But, going back to the products, when we're building the power bank, for example, our power bank is UL certified by this lab called SGS, which does the certification. We were giving the factory the specs that we wanted. They were like, product is UL certified. What was UL certified was the battery pack that goes inside the product. We said, no, we want the whole case to be UL certified. So we had to go through some of these extra steps to make sure that the power bank is fully certified to be safe. We tested the product inside out for the longest while. In the process of going through the certification, we found out that there were a couple of chips that were not performing well. So we had to change those and go through the certification again to make sure that we get fully certified. We made sure that you're getting a product that not only is certified, it's tested. On Amazon, for example, you can search for batteries and they will say, are you all certified? And when you read deep into the description, what you learn is that the lithium ion battery is certified, but the whole thing is not certified. So you got the heart certified, but not the brain. And the brain can do a lot of harm to the heart. So
It doesn't surprise me, Sargon, that zutBe has this mindset and that you are looking for everything to be of excellent quality. From your opinion, what makes consumers always lean to El Cheapo, like the products that don't really have the proper certifications? What is the reason that the majority of people just say, oh, whatever, just go with this?
we are conditioned for that, to look for bargains. Sometimes it's just purely economical. In my previous life, I used to travel a lot to Latin America. It was right around when iPod got introduced. The only way that you can tell that somebody has an iPod were really those white earbuds hanging off your ears going into your pocket. You would drive around and everybody had white earbuds going to their pocket. I'm like, wow, everybody's got an iPod. And soon after I learned, no, it wasn't that everybody had an iPod, which was really expensive. It made me look good or feel good that I had the white earpods in my ear and the cables were going into whatever they were going into. So part of it is that. Part of it is, you know what? I also want to have a power bank, but I only want to spend, $10 on it. I don't want to spend. And sometimes it's what we are conditioned to do, not wanting to spend the money. I always try to buy stuff locally from my little town. And the reason why I do that is because I want those taxes to go into my little town, even though I might pay a little bit more for certain things. But I also look at what I can buy that's not as expensive sometimes. And I'm conditioned that way too.
That makes total sense. And the one thing I think is the tipping point about zutBe, in addition to all these excellent factors, is when you and your friends got together and you started talking about the causes you wanted to donate profits to. How do you go about that? Because I know that's what touches me. I'm like, okay, when I'm buying my devices, I'm going with zutBe now because one, Sargon's protecting me, and two, I'm indirectly helping the causes. Like give us an example of some of your causes and how you determine what to send them or what's the process there?
It was really personal for some of the folks. One of the guys lost his wife to cancer. So that was a
Mm,
big cause for him. And we were all there for him for that. My cause has always been education and kids. And I hate seeing kids not having the same opportunities as my kids. I hate seeing people not having access to the right education because at the end of the day, the way we're going to elevate our communities and our country is by making sure that our kids are taken care of and they get educated the best. So, if you see causes that are around education and kids, those are like my causes. And that's how we ended up putting together a group of causes to support. There's a cause there that helps the kids of the farm workers to get out of this cycle and teaching them skills and technology. Just like we did with the factories, we did a lot of research around what does this nonprofit do? Where does the money go? Are they rated A or are they rated B and C? And we tried to go after the causes that were rated A, meaning that most of the fundings actually go to the causes and they're actually touching and helping people.
that's great. I know one of the causes that you have is the Thurgood Marshall College Fund that helps students of historically Black colleges and universities. I love that because I buy something from you and I can have the expectation that African Americans like myself will benefit down the road. I love that. To me, it's a positive thing, and it shows your diversity and also open mindedness. I think.
Sometimes all it takes is a helping hand. A lot of people might not ask for it. As an immigrant, I have the typical story of, I came to this country with nothing. But at the same token, I had help along the line. And somebody helped me, either mentored me or helped me financially to do certain things that I probably wouldn't have been able to do. And if I can provide that to any student, especially with some of the communities needing a little bit more help. That's what brought that cause along. It was really trying to help a community to elevate themselves by providing that helping hand that somebody wants to get educated. They should be able to get educated.
One of the goals that I have with this podcast, Sargon, is education of what is really going on in the phone accessories world. Definitely want to highlight what zutBe has been doing now, going on its 6-year anniversary, and really help people see the value of supporting that and helping take care of the devices, which everyone has at least one in the United States for the most part. It's amazing. Where is zutBe going?
The cliche answer will be, we want to grow and we want to do bigger and better. And we definitely do want to do that because the bigger we get, the more we can do to help. Earlier on, when we were putting together the company, I met with a friend of mine who works in the VC community. And he was very interested in hearing about what I was doing. And I said, it's not about selling widgets here. It's really about building products that are ethically built, that they're durable, that they're safe. So when the consumers get it with that zutBe brand, they recognize it and they buy it with confidence. And then he goes, oh, that's very interesting. He goes, but that giving back, everybody can do it. Then I said, you know what? I want everybody to do it. It will be beautiful if somebody copies what we are doing. All it means is that we're giving more money to some of these causes. I mean, for me, it's never about bragging about us, but at the same time, I really need to talk about the causes so that the consumer understands what zutBe is about so that they buy zutBe products so we can continue giving to these causes. My ultimate biggest goal is to really have some of these larger companies in our industry to do the same without saying that they're giving and doing just for the sake of saying it, but actually really giving and doing.
With that being said, how can we make more purchases directly from you? And is it United States? Do you do international shipments? I know batteries are a situation.
So you go to zutbe.com, zutbe.com. That's simple. All the products are listed there. Our causes are listed there. So you can go learn about the causes, products, about our mission, the people behind it. The products are shipped to US customers only, mainly because, they're electronics. The plugs are different in different countries. Voltages are different in different countries. So for now, we're shipping to US only. And any shipment over $25 ships for free. Yeah. So zutbe.com. Think about it this way. When you buy a zutBe product, you're really buying into the causes.
That is like a great point to end on. I think that sums it up right there. And I'm so thankful that you took the time to talk with us, and we can't wait until zutBe becomes a household name.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you for your time. Thank you for an invitation. I was scared to be on your podcast, but here we are at the end. So thank you, and thank to your audience for listening to this.
That tells me I got a humble guy on my hands.
Hey, it's the inner child in me.